Yeah, making a video, I think. Well, I should have checked the time on the camera, but doesn't matter now. Anyway, Piro. So I'm just going to play this one cold. It's not going to be pleasant, I don't think. I played a little tiny bit and he was already being snarky. So anyway, let's just do this. I haven't done this in a while, so we'll just do this in I see it. 12 minutes, yeah, I don't know.
Right, Gary, boy, you just don't get it. Emotionally, you can't even, you're lazy.
Emotionally, I don't even give a shit about this emotional crap, so fuck that. Calling me lazy is just idiotic, so go ahead, whatever, retard. Yeah, I don't want to play the game that you want to play. Oh, okay, got it. I'm wrong because I don't want to play your game, your word game.
You don't even want to learn what the word realism is meant here, or the word locality. You just
yeah, I think it's all semantics and mush. Okay, they're all invented concepts that wouldn't even exist if they didn't get this thing wrong in the first place. So the very idea that I have to even worry about simultaneous and all this other nonsense, or two things happening at the same time in different places, or something being in two places at once, this is all your fairy tales. Why would I waste my time figuring out your special jargon for magic talk?
like to assume you're seeing a video, so I must be saying, I believe what I'm showing you, and you don't listen to the words where...
No, that's not the point at all. What I clearly said in the video was, look, the real problem is, physics isn't... I'm saying that physics is a lot simpler than they've made it out to be. I think it can be understood by the common man, and get rid of all this, this obsession with a formula and get back to what is in the formula and why those pieces that are in the formula affect the result. And so it can be all made much more understandable. And they have deliberately, like doctors talking Latin, they've just separated it from reality for no good reason except to be elitist fucks, in my opinion. But anyway, besides that, if you're going to have a conversation about something that has this many... it's a little bit complicated in the sense that there are... it's like evolution or something. We're so familiar in talking about it that it's much easier 200 years later. I guess what I'm saying is you have to take it an element at a time. And we never do that in these conversations. No subject is exhausted or beaten to death. I say something simple like, the evidence for lensing is weak. We should be able to agree on that it's not strong, hard evidence. It's weak evidence. It's indirect evidence. It's vulnerable to reinterpretation.
I don't believe in the pilot wave theory. I just think for those...
Right. So this is again just let's throw into the mix a conversation about another complex phenomenon that's happening for a lot of complex reasons. Let's throw it in and imply that it has something to do with this other part of physics, which it doesn't. Just like water waves don't have anything to do with light. And well, just because there's some elements or similarity, now we're going to equate these completely different subjects. Because cement looks like sandpaper, we're going to assume there's a connection. And we can use buildings as sandpaper, or we can live in sandpaper. No.
That do people that want to preserve realism, that don't like the idea of superposition.
Yes, that's right. Superposition. Well, superposition in the strict sense, the fact that every force is its independent force and the forces don't in any way mix. You can't make force affect force. So if there's a positive force and there's a negative force, they don't mix together and turn into something else. The object itself interprets the two forces as their original impact. They don't mix before they reach the body that's going to be influenced by them. The body that's influenced does the compromising, so to speak, does the mixing of the two forces. The two forces never mix. And that's an important fact in physics. That's agreeable. Superposition turned into things in two places at once and that kind of crap is bullshit.
They don't like the idea that some sort of the version of the particle went through both slits. They don't like that. And so it's an idea, and this is a pretty good visualization of how that kind of thing could work.
Well, again, you're pointing it out. You say you don't agree with it, But let's talk about it. And let's throw it in to this story. Let's talk about leprechauns, even though we agree leprechauns don't exist, just to what? Waste time or make God sound more reasonable? I mean, now God will sound a lot, Jesus will sound a lot more reasonable if we compare it to leprechauns. Is that the purpose of this?
The pilot wave. Doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. I don't believe it. It's a good addition to the conversation.
That's your opinion. It's a good. I'm saying that yes, we could go into the whole molecular structure of crazy glue. We could see the molecules and try to explain why the glue works in certain substances and why it doesn't work with something else. But I don't think that's going to be at all applicable to these fundamental questions about whether atoms are made out of protons, electrons, and neutrons, and whether those things are actually particles or whether they're a collection of particles.
Right, but you're too lazy to learn words that that might help understand your own system. Like, is your system is preserving locality important?
Again, I don't. It's a completely irrelevant word. There's no such thing in my vocabulary. That's like saying preserving my locality. Why would I even imagine I have something other than a preserved locality? I'm the one that's explicitly stating there's no such thing as a time dimension. There's no such thing as any magical jumping anywhere or hopping anywhere or going anywhere. The matter, the quanta, the force has to actually go there, and it takes time. That's the speed of light, and that's the rules throughout the whole universe, and you're never going to find hard evidence of those rules being broken.
Or is it just the concreteness of the particle that's important? These would be important.
Again, the concrete of the concrete. No, the concrete isn't concrete. Concrete's made out of protons, electrons, and neutrons. It's not made out of concrete.
Important. And then,
And those particles are not particles. They're made out of quanta, and quanta is force. Quanta is light, gravity, and magnetism. That's what it is when it's outside of a proton, or outside of an electron, or outside of a neutron. When it's outside of those three things, it's one of those three things. Isn't that interesting? Yes, there's three of those matter things, and there's three of the non-matter things. Magnetism, gravity, and the electromagnetic spectrum. Photon.
You'd have to learn why the hidden variable thing comes in. The work that other people have done.
Yeah, well, again, this whole idea that this hidden variable based on, doing these bizarre calculations of 1 million photons, and they do this, and again, going through as I have explained, there's assumptions built into these experiments. So, they use a polarizing filter, and if you don't understand how polarization might work, in the sense that some percentage of the ones that do go through are actually blocked because they hit the bars of the jail cell. So if I'm throwing frisbees, some of the ones that are going the right way won't get into the cell because they're going to hit the bars. And all of the ones going the wrong way, none of those will get through. So there's always going to be an inequity. And so, all this Bell shit and all this other crap, in my opinion, yeah, that's abstruse. That's crap. Okay? If you don't get the facts right, then all of that crap isn't going to matter. So it's completely dependent on you actually having an accurate understanding of what the variables actually are.
Proving things. You just want to be lazy and have us all believe that when your system's all fleshed out, the math that goes with it, of course it's going to be the same as the current math. No. It'll be slightly different.
Well, I mean, slightly different. Again, yeah, what's the point of slightly different? I mean, inverse square is never going to change. It's rock solid. I'm giving you an explanation for why it's inverse square, because it's straight line force. Straight line force is always inverse square. It can't do anything other than inverse square. And that's why it works with magnetism. And, because when the force is actually being irradiated in the right circumstance, like an infinite plane, then there's no inverse square. Because now there's no loss of force, because the location over there is creating the force you're losing.
You say, well, that's how we're going to use science to find out if your theory is valid or not. At that point, of course, that point's never going to happen. You're never going to get your system already has so many contradictions. There's no way.
Again, that's just your gibberish and your rhetoric. Okay, fine. And so when I prove you're wrong, will you shut up for the rest of your life because you sat there and made these pronouncements that are crap? No way. Well, I think there's a real way. And again, are you just going to shut up forever because you made these bold accusations that it can't possibly be true? That's the same. No way is the same as saying it can't possibly be true. Fuck you.
You're going to be able to make a consistent mathematics for it.
I already have started doing a consistent mathematics for it, and since it's perfectly conservative, and so all I have to do is figure out exactly how many photons are in an electron, and once I have that number, then I have the density of the field energy, because the size of the electron is dictated by the pressure of the universe. So then I know exactly how much quanta there is in the universe. So I mean, the math is going to be really easy because I've identified the one. I have a real one instead of the fake ones you people have. I have a real one quanta. It weighs 1 quanton. Yeah. Period. And it's going to be true no matter what form it's in or where it's going. It's always going to be the same. It'll never be anything different. Ever, 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 ever. Completely conservative.
But you'd have us believe that when you do, anyway, despite the impossibility of that.
Okay, so another bold statement. It's impossible. So again, will you shut the fuck up forever when I prove you wrong? That it wasn't fucking impossible? It wasn't anywhere close to fucking impossible? Shit.
That'll be just the same. But different, but better. And I'm saying that those differences is how we'll tell whether it's better or not. That'll be important. But you're too...
well, whatever. It's going to be better because it's not going to be relying on... It does. Number one, it's a unification theory, so right there it wins because it's the only unification theory that's going to actually work. So, bingo, right there. That's a big one.
Lazy to learn about realism or you want to have a gut reaction towards like natural philosophy. In your head, it's like
well, again, you want to just again. I'm not going to play your game. Okay, there's just that's not. I have this idea. Okay, that all I give a shit, all I call intelligence is actually getting the answer right. Okay, accurate descriptions of reality. That's all I'm after. I'm just not interested in a bunch of inaccurate descriptions of reality because they feel good or because we don't know, so we just have to accept a bunch of fudgy answers because we don't have a decisive winner. Well, then just admit you don't have a decisive winner. I'm just saying that there's things I can tell the difference between something that's 90% likely and something that's 2% likely.
I think I'm talking about organic philosophy, natural dish soap. No. What it is there's a thing called philosophy from way back in the day.
Yeah, I don't care about any way back in the day, okay? Again, they were dealing with universes where they thought demons existed and the hobgoblins, and they didn't know shit about shit. Why do I give a fuck about what you say, they say? I say there's one purpose here. Accurate descriptions of fucking reality. That's what science is after, and that's what philosophy is after. And I've only made the distinction is that science works with material objects and harder evidence, and philosophy has to deal with things that you'll never actually be able to put under a magnifying glass. You're only going to understand them because of footprints they leave in the emergent environment, the emergent environment.
A subset of the people that were doing philosophy and contemplating all this stuff, they were into philosophizing about nature. Why did things grow? Where did the flies come from? Why does the sun rise?
Now, those are obvious and relevant questions, and it's not philosophy. Again, it's always going to be something called science when you're asking questions about the physical world. That's not philosophy, then.
What's going on with the stars? Why are they so regular? Everything else seems not so regular. They were natural philosophers.
Well, again, this natural philosopher bullshit. No, you either get the answer right or you get the answer wrong. Period. You get the answer right because you have physical evidence, or you get the answer right because you have circumstantial evidence, but yet conclusive evidence.
A subset of them became what we know of as very scientific. they adopted rules of what.
All right, so again, we can't even agree on this one, okay? I say, yes, philosophy is a subset of science. The purpose of science is to accurately describe reality. Part of reality are emergent properties. That's philosophy. You can't accept that simple, I think, perfectly rational description of what the fucking two subjects are. Fine, you think science is a subcategory of philosophy. Well, I think that's just bullshit.
What kinds of evidence they would accept from each other. Even though they believe different things, different dogmas, they decided on these rules of how they would accept proof of knowledge.
These rules. The rules are you have to have fucking evidence. That's always going to end up being the rule. All right, and the evidence on my side is, first, like I said, I've unified physics, and the argument's going to be made that, yes, I'm providing you a physical explanation for physics, not a magical unicorn explanation.
From that comes an epistemology of what counts as knowledge in this little club of the natural philosophers that are using empiricism, experiments, demonstration. And
right, no even point in using empiricism or any of these kind of words. There's good evidence and bad evidence, and the testing of evidence is a fundamental process. I mean, somebody says this pen is made out of steel. Well, I can test that easily, and that's all there is. There's evidence, and you test the evidence. That's what the trial is, okay? And when you have enough evidence, you say, yeah, there's nothing else. That's the truth.
It's not necessary that math is a part of it, but that really helps, because the point with these guys is, well, you have to be able to post-stick things. Everything you've already seen, your theory has to...
I'm not hostile to math, so again, this has nothing to do with any hostility to math. I'm just arguing that most of the time when they're doing math, they're not explaining the difference between hard variables and fudge variables, ones they create for the purpose of making the equation work, like Huygens.
Be able to predict things that have already happened. Predict in the sense of going back in time, but you don't do that. You call it post-diction. And predict a new thing. The best thing is, in addition to what's already happened, it's predicting some new thing that we haven't tested before, and when we go test, it turns out to be that.
Well, again, this is like having a conversation where, look, you can say you have this idea of evolution, and people can come up with all kinds of wacky ideas about how things evolve, like yes, the giraffe is trying to make its neck longer, and so that was part of evolution, that was trying. And no, trying wasn't any part of it, okay, and you can explain how, no, it was just giraffes born with longer necks lived better, and giraffes that were shorter neck didn't live as well, and that's it. And you could go into punctuated equilibrium and why aren't there any missing links? Well, punctuated equilibrium, it's the ones that went off, the go west young men turtles are the ones that changed, because they did a little incest and a little inbreeding, and they more quickly evolved and changed.
Way the math is important in that, because that's when you go, geez, yeah, there were some experiments where there was a little bit, the answer came out a little bit off of what Newton said, and Einstein fixed it, his version of the equation, where he adds a term. And you want us to believe that when you do the Einstein move, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be better.
I don't know what this mocking voice is, but I mean, the point is, it's jackass, is that Einstein didn't do anything magical, okay? He did something that, just Newton didn't realize, that the big giant sun is actually getting moved, that its center of gravity moves.
Oh my God. Well, that's fine for you. It's great. You're confident. Yeah, you're confident.
Well, you're talking pretty confident too, jackass, and so we'll see whose confidence was fucking goddamn merited, and who was full of fucking shit, who was just a talking asshole.
I'm not confident in you.
And I'm not asking you to be. What I'm asking you to do is make a rational fucking argument. You never do that. All you do is this fucking personal crap. You don't make any physical arguments. You don't never show an equation. You never show a demonstration. And the only time you ever do show any evidence, it's evidence that's complete crap. Like your stupid fucking learning paramecium stuff that's been debunked thoroughly.
your system isn't going to do that, I don't think, and so, you'll have to get to that point.
Where has it? So again, another false, just completely made up bullshit. You haven't debunked a motherfucking thing. You haven't even come close, jackass. I am the one who has debunked the two-slit experiment. I've debunked every fucking time it's brought up in a video, like your Veritasium video. He brings up the two-slit experiment. Why doesn't he just bring up the single-slit experiment and show the fucking pattern? Oh, that's right, because that would be kind of inconvenient, because then all this bullshit wouldn't mean anything anymore, because it wouldn't be the two obvious slits creating the interference pattern. They'd have to explain the interference pattern without the two slits, wouldn't they? Yeah. So who's bullshit and who's not bullshit? I call bullshit on that.
But you're too lazy for us to...
No, you're too fucking lazy.
Try to talk about something that's not even really that subtle. It should be step one. We should have been talking. You should have been listening to this. I mean, we were talking about it in the sense that I have been years ago.
You haven't said anything, as I keep saying. You don't say a motherfucking thing. You paraphrase what you think reality is, and you make bold claims about what has been proven. And when somebody goes to look up what you say has been proven, there's no fucking proof.
But what I want to talk about is your idea that philosophy is a part of science. Philosophy is a part of science. That's what you said. I'm always getting it wrong. I'm getting it the other way around, and you said this a couple times. So I want to focus, and that's what I want to talk about.
Well, why didn't you get to that then? You're halfway through the fucking video. You've already made your counterclaim twice in this video. You've made your counterclaim that science is a subset of philosophy. So what exactly is going to be your argument for that? Oh, well, Aristotle says so. Well, who the fuck cares?
Talk about it. There's two ways to think about that. There's a historical thing, right? Because if if the blues came from jazz, that's an argument that blues, is the subset in child. But there's also an analytic argument of that, no, blues just became something separate, or it expanded out and jazz became a part of it.
No, well, the really way to do it is which one is the bigger one? Which one's the planet and which one's the moon? Okay, and that's the way to look at it. All right, which one is the subject that covers the entire universe? Oh, I guess that would be the one with all those little quanta in it and all the fucking protons and electrons and neutrons. So I guess that science is going to end up being the bigger science, the one of the material universe. And the one of emergent properties really probably only has to do with what the fuck's happening on planet Earth, frankly, because that's probably the only place any of this consciousness shit is happening. So I think it's the only place this philosophy crap is going to have any fucking meaning, is where there's feeling things.
Analytic, separate from the chronological history. There's no doubt chronologically what I described happened, and that's where scientists came from philosophers.
Well, again, you say so. When the point is that science was really dumb. Science believed in astrology. Science believed in demons. Science believed in, logically concluded that there must be Thor and there must be gods because they couldn't understand anything. So they were the first scientists. They asked the question. It was the proper question to ask. Why is the hurricane going to blow my house down? They just came up with the wrong answer because God thinks I farted the wrong way.
And that there's philosophers that are not scientists comes into play in the analytic side, right? A border collie is a kind of dog. Border collies are there for a subset of dogs. To be a border collie means you're a dog because you're a subset of dog. Whereas being a dog doesn't mean you're a border collie, it just means maybe, but you could be some other kind of dog. So if philosophy is a subset of science, then you're saying philosophy is science.
I'm saying that science has these sort of stupid rules of evidence. It has the idea of the logical rules. Those are all kind of built into scientific structure, okay, our rules of evidence and all that kind of stuff. And they're not really philosophical. They're mechanically true. They're mechanisms, and they're descriptions of mechanisms, control mechanisms. So I'm just going to argue that, yes, the better word is science, the scientific method. Okay, there's not the philosophy method. There's a scientific method, and that method also exists covers the rules of reasonable philosophy, in my opinion.
And since your definition of philosophy and the word natural,
I think the word natural is totally redundant and useless, superfluous nonsense. There's no such thing as anything other than natural. There's no other anything. So, yeah, why would I apply a word like, wetness or something?
are so bizarre and unknown and impossible to figure out, since you won't say what they mean, and they obviously don't mean what ordinary language would have them mean, and what technical and historic language would have them mean.
Well, again, that's your argument. I don't think I'm saying anything all that fucking outrageous or in conflict with what most scientists have been doing for centuries. And they didn't draw these lines between science and philosophy. Most of the greatest scientists did lots of philosophizing, and they didn't sit there and say, I'm wearing a different hat now. I'm not a scientist anymore. No, they were looking for the same thing, which is attempting to describe fucking reality.
Fuck, it's impossible to know what the fuck you think you're even saying. Okay? Philosophy, not a part of science. Right? Now, if science is a part of philosophy, that's something we could discuss. That's rightfully controversial.
Yeah, well, that's all that. Look, all that's saying is I want to put science in the realm of the religious. I want to put it in the realm of the made-up meta bullshit. So yeah, it's just an excuse to put science in a place it doesn't belong, in the place where you don't use something called evidence. All right, because yes, philosophy is going to take. Philosophy is the much harder discipline to get right because it's so easy to let it go wrong, because the evidence is. You have to be a Columbo. I mean, you have to gather and gather and gather the evidence. It's just not. It's not going to be right there in front of you.
Controversial, though, and I don't think there's a controversy. Science is a kind of philosophy, and that's why you see philosophical practices in science. It's a kind of philosophy.
No, well, that's your. Like I said, this is all your crap. Fine. I'm just saying, look, it doesn't really matter. It just points out how we just really have no reason to communicate with each other because we can't even agree on something this simple. Whether science should be a slave to a made up, to so much made up theory, to so much absolute crap. I mean, philosophy still considers it reasonable to say, I'm agnostic on the subject of, infinitely powerful 500 million winged dragon gods. No, I'm not agnostic on any of that bullshit because I'm a scientist. I don't believe that there's any evidence for that shit.
Philosophy that says, look, we're going to limit ourselves to these very strict boundaries of empiricism, prediction, and postdiction.
Science is limited to material evidence.
Right? There's a way to test whether our theories perform better or worse than whatever theory predated them.
That's right. You can model it. So I guess it doesn't have to be material evidence of the same scale. You can just create a model and let the model demonstrate this is what it's going to do.
We can test that. And then we will follow the theories that do better. And even if they're broken in some sense, they're coming up with better results. That's good enough. Later on, we'll fix their error, and we'll get even better results, and maybe that'll happen forever. Okay, but
yeah, Donald Trump's president. Newsflash, not getting better. The world's covered with religious kooks. Not getting better.
But it is a kind of philosophy because, you have to apply a model. Applying a model to the world that has more than one model that can be applied to it, that's generally a philosophical practice, even if you're really strict and careful about how you do it, as is the case with science.
Yeah, well, whatever. So science isn't really supposed to be drawing conclusions. It's not supposed to be saying have faith. Okay, and that's all Feynman was saying. Is have faith. Have faith in the math. Don't worry about concept. Concept is bullshit. Just do the math. That's bullshit. That's religion.
Okay. So, the real question, since you're obviously wrong as the words are normally used and are used in academic history and just in general, that doesn't mean you're
You can't even get the word right. I think you meant to say natural, not normality. So whatever. So you know, you can't even articulate these sentences coherently.
Idea doesn't make some sense. It just means you understand the language you're trying to use.
No, I'm not trying to use it. I don't even need to use it. So you need to use it. I don't need to use it. I'd never need to use any kind of stupid concept like natural philosophy. I don't need to say anything. I don't need to put those two words together at all. There's fucking rational philosophy and there's irrational philosophy. I don't give a shit about whether it's natural or not.
Using words wrong. That is a possibility. So, what do you mean that philosophy of science is an annoying term to you? What a mushy term. No, it's because philosophy is about the fundamentals.
Oh, well, wrong. No. Philosophy, again, is about the hardest to detect elements of reality. The emergent property, consciousness. That's what philosophy is about. Philosophy is about all the subjects relevant to this experiencing thing. And it really doesn't have anything to do with anything else. The rest of it is science.
Of whatever it's about. Philosophy of art would be about, well, what are the fundamentals? How does it work? The philosophy of math is how does math work? Right?
Well, having a philosophy of math is silly. Even having a philosophy of art is, in my opinion, quite silly. You can have a philosophy regarding an understanding of psychology, but that's a science again. So, you know, you can understand psychologies react to images and colors, and then there's a way to manufacture images and colors, you know, that appeal to people, and ones that don't, and ones that scare people, and ones that frighten people, and ones that make people imagine, you know, having their anus twitched. Who the fuck cares? It's neither philosophy or science. It's bullshit.
The things that are guiding how you approach it, so that in one area there's a philosophy of science that it's, you know, levers and BBs and can predict the future, and another one it's different.
Well, exactly. That's because you made it a subset of fantasy and bullshit. Right. So I'm saying no. Science is either you get it right or you get the answer wrong. There's no two answers. There's one answer that's right. There's one answer, you know, and the rest of the answers are wrong. That's it. Period. Done.
The Earth is in the center. The Earth isn't in the center. You know, and why? You know, there was a philosophy of science after, you know, I think there was natural philosophy. And why does that term?
Fuck YouTube. Fuck YouTube.
So much. Because the word natural, it's like natural dish soap. No. It's because some philosophers thought, I'm going to go sit in the clouds and think about God's kind of things, and it has nothing to do with this dirty earth and all its dirty things in it. And other people thought, well, I like nature. I want to know why things grow, how things change.
Yeah, liking something should really have nothing to do with the subject. So again, I don't see any point in me qualifying it with this stupid word natural. What do I need it for? Accurate. Truth. That's all. The rest of this is bullshit. Either get it right, get the answer right, or get the answer wrong. And we know what a right and wrong answer looks like. Yeah, that is, the right one looks like the one with a big pile of evidence under it, and the wrong answer looks like the one with no evidence under it.
Change what's going on, what everything's made of. So they just happen to be called natural philosophers. Right? But you have like an emotional reaction to the word natural in there. It's probably because you are a nature boy.
No, it's probably because the worst of the world is. You just said it. Love nature. Okay, we see it with all these Gaia assholes. They're all shoving a bunch of fucking religion into science. So the word nature in the conventional, what's the other word for conventional, in the colloquial sense, is a fucking abomination to science. That's right, because most people have a fluffy, puffy, bullshit fucking Pokemon perception of nature.
Disillusioned nature boy. I thought nature was lovely. It was the answer. It was nicer. It was a place to see a pleasant thing, and then you realize, no.
Oh, whatever. You were raped by leprechauns. There, that's my psychiatric analysis, okay? You were raped by leprechauns, and you've never gotten over it.
At 8 years old, it's also shit. Look, that lizard just got eaten by that cat. That was terrible. It was still alive. Fuck nature. And then suddenly, we have natural philosophy, been called that for, centuries and centuries, thousands of years, if you count the multilingual nature of philosophy. And
right, and how much bullshit is included in natural philosophy? Shamanism, all kinds of asshole bullshit gets shoved in there. The spiritual LSD drugs and shit. Fuck this. This has nothing to do with it, okay? Gaia is part of this whole natural thing. That's right, the word is, it has no use anymore, okay? It's been stolen by the poofters, and it just doesn't mean anything anymore. It doesn't mean what it needs to mean. It doesn't mean anything like in the Darwinian sense. It's lost all of its fucking tree bark character.
You just can't handle it. And you're too lazy to learn what these words mean.
No, I'm too indifferent, and I'm too sick of people fucking using words to evade reality. There's these words like love and poofter words. You keep throwing them into all the conversations, all these little poofter words. I got no use for them. That's all I'm saying. I don't give a fuck. You can use them all day long. I'm just saying don't call me one of them, because I'm not.
So that you could describe what you're going for in your system, because the logic of your system's inconsistent and incoherent.
Incoherent. You keep saying shit like that. Where's the incoherent part, asshole? Why don't you detail something for a change? Incoherent.
Therefore, it would be more useful to know what you're going for.
Well, I've already made the videos over and over again. The basic idea, the basic concept that gravity is a real force is kind of obvious in that it perfectly duplicates the inverse square rule. It fits all of the gravitational necessities. It's called Mach gravity. Go look up Mach gravity, okay? And it works perfectly as long as you don't turn it into a fucking meteorite that's hitting stuff and bouncing off at a different speed. So if you understand the kinetic argument, it fixes the thermodynamic problem. So the whole reason why Lasserre's gravity was rejected by Feynman was a thermodynamic problem, and I fixed it.
What you're really objecting to and things like that. Because, Gary...
I'm objecting to obvious bullshit, okay? That there's time dimensions, that there's space dimensionalized, the warps and wormholes and all this fucking fantasy nonsense.
God, this isn't gonna do it.
Says the Piro. Yeah.
Have a convincing gut.
Go chew on a hoodie. Yeah, fuck you. Useless contribution. Bravo. Mush. Another mush contribution. Thank you. Useless. Fuck you.